Hello ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday, so let's go fast. Today we're driving, if I can get turn around, the Lotus 98 Renault Turbo, or Lotus Renault 98 Turbo, 98T, from the 1986 Formula 1 season. And we're driving at Brands Hatch because this was a track actually used in the season, and I need to change my camera back because we're about to start a hot lap. Now, as you can see, I've got everything set up the same as last time. Wasn't originally going to do a time trial, but I figured it might be a good way to do it. I do already have a Ghost on track, because I did a warm-up lap, and this one isn't very good. And, whoa! Stop. Okay, so engine stopped. I conked it again? No. So, my warm-up lap isn't the greatest lap I've ever done. I actually managed to go almost a second faster than that. But what it does do, what it gives me, is a reference time. So, basically what I'm doing at the moment is I'm just warming the car up. Just to get it somewhere near where I want it to be, and just getting used to the track conditions because they are slightly different to where I practice. And I literally only did about 3 laps of practice with the setup I downloaded. But it does seem like a reasonably good setup. I did modify it a bit. I didn't download the setup, I actually got it off Project Cars setups database. And that was a really bad way to enter turn 1. Really bad way to enter turn 2. Druid's hairpin. Also known. Now, this is one of those tracks where I don't know the corner names, so I do apologise. I believe turn 1 is Paddock Bend, and I know turn 2, the hairpin, is Druids. And that's about it. So I'm half a second up on where I was, which is good. And as you can probably notice, I have improved since my days in a set of Corsa, which I may or may not return to at this point. So this is actually for the top, being the top 10 times in the world for this car, and I'm now in the top 10. I believe? Yes. I'm in the top 10 with a bad lap. Now, one time it'll be 11, which I don't think I can get without some serious setup changes, which I'm not confident with. So, let's just continue on. This car is really jittery. I do have the wastegate is set at 5 bar, I believe. Yes, because I put it into what I described to myself as a qualifying trim. This car can do up to 6 bar wastegate, but it only really used 5 in qualifying because 6 will destroy the engine, even around a relatively short lap. So they limited it to 5 on qualifying trim just because they wanted. Despite the fact that I'm trying to talk and drive this thing at the same time, it's not working really well. This thing is, to say it's a bit excitable is an understatement. This thing wants to go sideways. It's got 1980s Formula 1 tires. I know I can get it to slide out a bit and be okay. It's just... it doesn't like turning at all. And it's very easily upset. Very, very easily upset. So as I was saying, in qualifying trim they basically used an engine. A qualifying engine that was only ever for qualifying. They brought 3 or 4 or 5 engines to every race weekend. One of them was going to only ever be used in qualifying. One was only ever going to be used in each practice session. And one was only ever going to be used in the race. And this was back in the days when Formula 1 engines were relatively cheap, even with the turbos. I do have a force feedback turbo, so I can actually feel what this car's trying to do. Back in the days when Formula engines weren't millions per engine. They were still a couple $100,000 per engine, but they were a lot more sensible. And the cars were a lot less technological. Intentionally invalidating the time here. And I forgot to switch to 4th gear, apparently. Anyway, in race trim, this thing would commonly run about 3.5 bar wastegate pressure, and the engines weren't particularly reliable. The engines did like exploding, and it was the mid-80s, so they didn't have massive teams watching over every little bit on computers, and they just basically threw the driver in the car, said don't blow up the engine, and went for it. There wasn't a car radio, there wasn't anything like what Formula 1 is now. And while there wasn't refueling, for the most part, it's regarded as one of the best times in Formula 1 just because it was the most crazy. I mean, manual gearboxes, clutches in the cars, 1,000 horsepower engines, and I've spun it. 1,000 horsepower engines that would do that quite regularly if you made a mistake. Tires that could do an entire race if you really wanted. Now they couldn't, obviously, we were pushing the whole time, but if you were at 3.5 bar, I'm at qualifying style speeds doing 114s. In the race they would be about a second and a half lap slower than this. Or I would anyway. Because I have done some testing in what would be described as a race trim. That hairpin is notoriously hard to get right. And these corners are a lot slower than you think they should be. Am I damaged? I don't know if I'm damaged. I have to go outside the car to check. I somehow managed to avoid damage. I'm actually going to stop the car here. Just look at how crazy this thing is. The driver's head is way unprotected. And the entire back of the car... Can I get a mouse up? No. The entire back of the car is just the engine and turbo. And all the radiators for that stuff. Now, the trim I'm running at the moment is... And I'm not going to change it. It is maximum downforce. Nothing can be more maxed out than the downforce in this thing. But even at that, there wasn't a massive amount of downforce. This was just after the era where Ground effect was a big thing, and you can see the massive diffuser on the back there. It is kind of a remnant of the ground effect cars. And ground effect will basically run the cars as low as you possibly can get away with. So the skirts are touching the ground. So the skirts of it are touching the ground, and you get a vacuum formed under the car. The floors of these ground effect cars, and there are a couple in this project cars. We got the 72 and the 79. The floors were just incredibly sculpted. They were almost art. Alright, let's try and go for a proper hot lap. I'm making silly mistakes on these last few laps. Instantly I make a silly mistake. Did rectify it. Okay. Brake bias is too far from, I think. And yes, that is a new thing in project cars where the brake bias adjustment does come up on screen. Which is nice, because up until now, up until that was actually added, I had to keep changing the damn Motec display just to see the brake bias. I'm just going to check, does this thing have a 6th gear? No. But that's one of the nicest changes in project cars. So, yeah, it's... Whoa, whoa, whoa! Yes, bump started. You probably wouldn't have been aware. I actually cocked the engine out. I knocked the engine out there. But I managed to restart it because I was on a hill. First gear and clutch are godsends when you're on a hill and you've got no engine, because it can restart itself. Okay, what's happening there is I'm just braking too late. I think I should switch into 4th. I've conked it again, and I've come to a stop, so I'm not going to be able to restart the engine. There we go. I do have a starter button. I do have a starter button mapped, which is how is. Oh, I've damaged it. I've damaged the car. There. It's suspension damage. I've damaged the... I suspect the front right suspension is damaged, but I'm not sure. Definitely something on the right is wrong. I've damaged front right suspension. Looks okay to me. Bent. Compared to the front left, the front right suspension is bent. So what I have to do is actually have to restart the session here. And we're going to do one super quick lap. Okay, let's just leave the build up here. So this is pretty much from pole. So turn 1 won't be great, but turn 2 should be okay. Brakes actually heated up a lot faster than I expected. I'm just using the wrong braking point for turn 1, I think. Turn 2 even. So I alluded to the track record here in the 98 being a 111. It's actually a 111 set by somebody using a controller, which means then most likely, or the game is showing up as using a controller. Controller and Project Cars being an Xbox, most likely an Xbox controller or a PS4 controller. Possibly Xbox One, I guess. But it does tell you, it does let me know, or the players know, I guess, what in the leaderboards, it tells you what, you know, the person who's at this time is playing with. So for me, it shows up as a steering wheel. People that play on keyboard, they're particularly insane ones, it shows up as a keyboard. There we go. And for people who use controllers, it shows up by default as an Xbox controller, which I find funny because this game isn't out on Xbox. This is out on PS4 and PC only as far as I'm aware. Probably not. That corner is incredibly difficult. Track there. I know I got the track. Can I get 113 here? A 112? What? Aha! I have my braking point. I was expecting to set a 113, not a 112. I thought the 112s were a bit beyond my reach, and I've just set a 112.1, which is shockingly close to the record. It's a 111.2, as you can see there. I've just brought it up on screen. No! Clutch in, clutch in. Engine's already gone. I think I can get 111. I'm actually faster in Sector 3 than the record. So in this area here, I'm faster than the record. Truck. So I want to be taking this turn about 90. I know that. And before people say, oh my god, you're taking a hairpin at 90 miles an hour. No! It's about 85 miles, or not 85, 55 miles an hour. And all the speeds you see here are in kilometers an hour because it makes it seem a hell of a lot faster than it actually is. But once you see anything over 160, 160 is 100 miles an hour, so I'm over 100 miles an hour. Okay, so I'm going to go into serious mode for a lap here. And see if I can get a 111. Never mind. Missed a gear. I've probably broken suspension.
You better come in. It looks like you've got some suspension damage, so we'll have to have a look at it.
Let's see if I can even get a good look at this. setup here. I don't know if I can get a pit, if I can do a pit stop in time trial mode. So that's oh, the suspension is really bad. You're probably wondering why I'm driving across the grass here, because this is actually a way across the track. Have I just skipped the pits? I have. There we go. That hasn't pitted me, okay. So let's restart. I'm gonna do... let's call it 5 more laps. So let's bring up my session here. So once this reaches 5, once the lap counter reaches 5, call it a day for fast riding. Whoa! Honked. And the funny thing is, you probably won't be able to notice it. I am using only the sound of the engine to tell these things, a lot of these things. Obviously, you can probably hear the wheel going a bit mental. And it does go a bit light when I start skidding, so I know to an extent when to start counter steering. But it doesn't make this car any more easy to drive. Or any less difficult to drive. The first lap was a 118, which wasn't bad. That Druids was terrible. The reason I shift into second here is kind of in between gears this corner. It's... okay, gonna restart again and do 4 laps. When I get to it, I'll show you the corner that I'm talking about. It's really in between gears. It seems a bit too fast for second, a bit too slow for third. This one is definitely second gear corner. This one coming up though, I'm really not sure what gear to use. I'm going to take it in third this time around. It's a second gear corner. I screwed the hair for that. The issue I have is this corner, the car does not like coming out of it in second gear. Or third, apparently. Don't think there's much damage. Minor suspension damage, that's fine, I can deal with it. I'm thinking that corner back there should have been fourth or third. That's definitely third gear corner, just a second gear. That I'm sure. Although it would have if I accelerated a little less. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna show you all of my inputs. So on the left you have the brake. In the center you have the clutch. And on the right you have all my throttle inputs. And there is no auto blip, no auto clutch, no auto anything on this car. All of this is manual. You can also see how badly I treat my tires, which is kind of nice. That corner I thought was fourth was actually a third gear corner. So it might seem like I have no idea about my time. In fact I do. I can see it up at the top. That last lap was 1:13, which is well inside the top 10 for this car. Screwing up the first corner again. That's how the hairpin's supposed to be taken. Thank you for finally getting it right just the once. A bit of a shame because this is actually a really good lap. Oh well, if I get a good run off here, which I do, get a good final lap, because this is going to be the final lap of the video. Can I get the 111? This would be too perfect if I got the 111 this lap. Of course I won't, because I just pretty much spun out. I mean, I potentially could, I guess. No, I lost about half a second. This is... I'm probably making this look a bit easier than it is, because I just screwed up those two gear changes. Okay, back into this view. I'm going to do another lap. Just a 1-1. I'm probably making this look a bit easier than it actually is. And again, maybe not. I just kicked it into the ground. This lap is a disaster. So yeah, this car, when you first try and drive in project cars, especially if you're not particularly good in Renault, is just... it constantly wants to kill you. Even when you get confident with the car, the number one thing this thing wants to do is just slam you into a wall somewhere. It wants to find the nearest wall, send you into it as fast as you can, preferably backwards. Huh. Slow and fast out does work. Who knew? Still more lap just because. Whoa, or not.
Box. Let's see if we can fix it.
Yeah.
We'll lose a lap. Just take it easy on the way back to the pits. The car won't feel
that's
too
my
good.
tyre. That's set in front of me. And that basically is as good a time as any to end the video. Just get rid of all this clutter. So I've been Rainbow Dave. You've been watching Fast Friday in Project Cars. Thank you very much for watching. I'm gonna try and get this thing back to the pits. It's conked. I'm gonna try and get this thing back to the pits and see how well I do. Is there a gap in this fence? Nope. It's not good because I gotta turn the way the wheels missing. Also, this is going to be trying to wait away as much. Thank you very, very much for watching. Always remember, walls are not for hitting, they're for avoiding. Especially in the 1986 Formula 1. Until next time, stay safe, and goodbye. Yeah, you just completely missed the pits all the time. You're really gonna do well with 3 wheels on your wagon, dude. And now the engine's died. Okay, so I decided to check where my time would put me in the leaderboards, and turns out it's good enough for 5th. That's actually quite amazing. What's the overall? 18th. VIP Steph is definitely a cheater. It is physically impossible to go around Brands Hatch in 18 seconds. Naughty, especially in a Porsche. Formula A times there about right. Where am I in the overall world rankings? As you can see, Formula A is just the absolute dominant car here. Yeah, it all tracks. So I'm only really going for, there we go, 81st in the world. Formula A is dominant just because it is a Formula 1 car and the grip levels are insane. I'll probably do one of them eventually and see how well I do. Yeah, just figured I'd let you guys know that I am apparently quite good in the Lotus 98T with that setup I download, with the setup I'm using. And for anybody wondering, if you go to projectcarssetups.eu, I'll put a link in the description to this exact setup that I used You will need to tinker a bit. What did I do? What on earth did I do to it? I fiddled the gearing, because the gearing in that setup is terrible. It is atrocious, and somebody has commented on the setup that it is atrocious. I also raised the boost pressure, the wastegate on the turbo to 5 bar. The setup has to be lowered. I actually raised it. Other than that, it is the default setup that is on here. It is the Renault 98T Turbo A/R. I don't know what A/R means. Set up by Ben, and he says, hopefully I haven't crashed fraps. I haven't. It's a good tune for multiplayer. Adjust downforce according to the track. Yeah, okay. Really, you need better gearing. I did that with max downforce and I got a 112. I think I could get away with lowering the downforce slightly, just to, yes, it'd make the car more skiddy, but it'd make it a bit faster down the straights, which would be nice. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it here with the 5th best time in the Lotus 98T Renault Turbo around Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, which was in fact used in the... Actually, can I... I'm going to see if I can find out what was the... no. Can I find the lap records here? The lap record in real life is actually set by a Formula 1 car from 1986. It is a 1 minute 9.5 second lap. And it was set by Nigel Mansell in the Williams FW11 Honda in 1986. And as it turns out, he actually won the race. Can I get the... No. Can I not, like, get... No. Oh, maybe. If I go to this. No. No, I can't. Nuts. What was the qualifying time? Does it have the qualifying time? I'm on Wikipedia. No. It doesn't, which is kind of annoying. Oh well. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it here. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe, and goodbye.